Windows is no longer yours. In the latest build, Microsoft has finally locked the Yes button in the admin dialog behind an ID and face scan. If you want to be an admin, you have to prove that you're old enough to understand the consequences. For now, the feature is still in beta and therefore hidden from the public eye. But given the current worldwide discussions about identification laws, Microsoft is preparing to release it to the world as soon as possible. Enough talking, let's look inside. In March 2026, Microsoft pushed, as they do every month, a cumulative update. We scroll past the usual announcements, improvements, fixes, and there we are. Several AI components in the system received an update, though Microsoft gave no details what exactly they updated. We have updates for a component that searches data, one that extracts data, and one that analyzes data. This is no coincidence. What the log isn't saying, the update adds an identity verify key here in the Logon UI registry key with 3 control flags. But as we'll see later, Microsoft doesn't want you touching these keys manually. For now, to even get the service to respond, we have to talk to a service called clip-svc directly and then reboot. Clip-svc is the main component of the Windows License Manager service. While originally intended to make sure your Windows installation is genuine, it has now been extended to enforce additional permission checks like age verification. Once back, you will encounter an age check as soon as you try to open a program as admin. In order to proceed, I need to let my ID and my face be scanned. The Yes button is grayed out and we can only hit No. If you start the ID scan, you are greeted by a screen that wants you to provide your ID to verify your age with the assistance of Microsoft Copilot. Though, I don't think I will. Surprisingly, the default implementation is flawed. Very ironically, I have generated a not even realistic looking ID using none less than Copilot himself. I suppose the default security level was left in for debugging purposes. Or perhaps they simply didn't think anyone would try this. Once that is successful, we now need to let the face be scanned. Again, I don't think I will. Instead, I will just hold a picture of a person into the camera and there we go, Microsoft lets us in. Awesome, we made it. For now. There's actually a higher security level which makes things a lot worse, and I fear that the higher level is what's going to be used for the rollout. To enable it on our test machine, you have to run yet another command through clip-svc and finally reboot once more. Security level 1 is where the fun ends. No more Copilot IDs, the checker is actually competent now. I borrowed an ID from my friend Enderman. He doesn't know it's gone yet, so let's keep this between us please. He made a video about the same ID checks being integrated in the OOBE, so make sure to check that one out as well. But now comes the tricky part. I need a face scan. Sadly, I can't steal Enderman's face since I'm not called a face stealer, so I'll have to use my real face here. Even though my face does not actually match the face on the ID, Copilot sees no issue with it. There is no higher security level that you can enable at this point, so I suppose this is a bug. In a future release, they might require both the face and the ID in the same frame to prevent this. Let's hope not. You can clearly see that this feature is still absolutely rough around the edges. The checker is flaky, buggy, it keeps reporting issues, sometimes even random error codes appear that look like some dev tested something and forgot to put a proper code there. Eventually it will work, it took me about a minute, which I skipped for brevity. With this out of the way, we now see that we can check a checkbox to have Windows remember us for 8 hours. Now you might wonder why 8 hours? This feature originally comes from the Windows W and C devices, which are thin clients intended only for business use, so they use 8 hours as the usual workday duration. Now the Yes button is finally enabled and we can proceed. Finally, our terminal launches and we are admin. If I try another admin dialog within these 8 hours, you see that the age check block appears completed by default. Now, don't forget to lock your workstation so no unauthorized person can use your admin permissions. Stop for a moment and think of the implications. Will this make webcams mandatory on computers? Looks like this is not the case. If you plug out the camera, you still have an alternative. You log in with a Microsoft account and do the age check from the Microsoft 365 Copilot app on the phone. So it's either camera or internet. If you have neither, Windows will keep you locked out though, which is absolutely crazy. Now, even with camera and internet, if you're like me, you will absolutely hate having to have your ID at hand every time you need admin, not to mention the absolutely unthinkable privacy nightmare this poses. Disabling it is not at all trivial though. Going back to the registry, If we try disabling or deleting the value, we get a write error. This is what usually happens when the system keeps ownership of the key, though even if we grab ownership for ourselves, we still get an error. This is because the key is protected by the highly controversial User Choice Protection Driver, or in short UCPD. It's a somewhat recent and incredibly aggressive system Microsoft introduced to stop us from messing with default behaviors unless Microsoft authorized it. For example, that includes changing your default browser and apparently also deactivating the H-check. I'm actually planning a full deep dive into how this driver works and what exactly it stops you from doing, so make sure to not miss it once it comes out. But now comes the absolute punchline. Despite Microsoft adding age verification to almost every system entry point, they left the back door wide open. Have you ever noticed the Task Manager never asks you for admin permissions if you try to launch it as admin on a regular machine? From here, you can just run a new task and check the admin permissions checkbox to spawn an elevated command prompt. By doing this, we avoid the entire ordeal we just went through previously, because as you see, there's no H-check anywhere. Microsoft paid good attention and money to block all the obvious entry points, yet they left the backdoor wide open. To truly get rid of this atrocity again, we can run a command again that tells our clip SVC that we don't want it anymore. If you try to open anything as admin again after a reboot, no more H-check. But keep in mind that this might change, the feature is in beta after all. In the future, the routine for changing the registry key, or even the key itself perhaps, might disappear entirely. Therefore, don't feel too safe. If Microsoft considers this feature stable enough for a hidden release in the monthly update, even if only with a feature flag, we are not far from a global rollout. All Microsoft would have to do is roll out a tiny update to activate it once relevant legislation passes. What are you going to do once it rolls out? Are you going to keep using Windows, switch to Linux, or do something else? Drop your plans in the comments. See you next time. Fly out.